You can support this podcast and get shows early and ad-free, as well as bonus episodes over at patreon.com/flashback64. Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Flashback 64, the chronological Nintendo 64 podcast. I'm Gooey, and I'm joined as always by my co-host McKenna.
Hello.
And today we're talking about our first baseball game on the console. It's not the first baseball game on the console, which we'll talk about shortly. I'll explain why. And we'll get into our history with it, but we thought, there's no more perfect guest that we could have on for this game than our returning guest, Marc Normandin. Marc, welcome back to the show.
Good to be here. I guess I am in a weird spot where both video games and baseball are sports, but baseball are my beat. So I am called upon for...
Yeah. Do you often get called upon for that type of thing? Like, is this, like a regular burden that you have to bear? Like,
it works.
Oh, I'm the baseball game guy.
It does work both ways. At Baseball Prospectus, which is a place I've written for on and off for 20 years now. Jesus Christ. Wow. Yeah, sorry, that just threw me off.
You're like a
when I was editing there in a previous stint, we ran the series for baseball video games, specifically. So we, the goal was we made a spreadsheet of every baseball video game ever, and we're just like, let's start picking. We didn't have to write about every All-Star baseball, for instance, or every World Series baseball, or every MLB The Show or anything. But it's like, oh, let's pick something that we have something to say about. That matters, that's like interesting, that readers will find interesting, even if they're not like hardcore video game fans. So I had that there. When I wrote for Baseball Prospectus at previous time, I sometimes would review like out of the park baseball, which was kind of a good fit for the audience there because it was very analytically inclined. So a sim like that would be good. I'm at Fox Sports Digital now. And we don't have bylines or anything, but there's already been a couple of occasions where like video game stuff came up that had to do with sports video games. So I was like behind the scenes doing that. And this is not, I don't even think this is my first time on a podcast talking about a sports video game. So it just, I do both things.
Well, I guess when we usually, when we have, you've been on before, we usually get people's kind of like gaming history, but also when we talk about like sports games, we also like to ask like, what's your, what was kind of your backstory with like being a baseball fan? Like, and like, I guess I was going to ask like, who is your team, but you came into the call with a Mariners jersey on. So I guess that kind of answered.
No, it does not.
Okay. No,
it's a Mariners jersey, but this is an Ichiro jersey. All right. Everyone's a fan of Ichiro, or should be.
Oh, okay,
shun those who are not. Mm-hmm. Not a Mariners guy. So I grew up a Red Sox fan and a Padres fan, which I can explain despite the geography. I grew up in Massachusetts, so that answers that pretty easily. But my mother lived in San Diego for a while, so I grew up with hearing just as much about Tony Gwynn and how awesome he was as I did, seeing the Red Sox. And now I root for the Padres, and I don't root for the Red Sox. After they traded Mookie Betts to the Dodgers in a salary dump, because it's just like, I don't have to put up with this. Like, I'm a self-respecting adult. I owe you nothing. I don't owe you anything.
Okay.
Which I know is like, it's a hard concept for sports because people get so they're like, well, no, that's my team. I'm forced to suffer with them. And it's like, no, like I don't have to be here for any of this. I got other sports I can watch. I got other teams I can watch. I don't have to be part of this.
Yeah, like what draws you to a team like what makes you a fan of a team, I guess, because that's different for different people. You know, it's like geography or in our last episode, our guest Darren became a Knicks fan just because he like had a Patrick Ewing trading card that he thought was cool when he was a kid, and he's like, okay, this is my team. So like, yeah, what about it for you draws you to like a team?
It was geography for the longest time, you know, with like the Red Sox, and you know, I was a Patriots fan. I don't really watch the NFL much anymore. Usually if I do, it's like a work thing. So it doesn't, sometimes it's just a relationship of some kind. So my wife grew up in Ohio. Her whole family, big Ohio State fans. They don't actually care about the NFL that much. They're huge Ohio State fans. I didn't have.
Yeah, that's common. Yeah.
I grew up in New England. We didn't really have college football as like a big deal up here. You know, like Boston College made the bowl, made a bunch of bowl games or whatever, but like they're not some big national team. So there was like space in my fandom to just be like, yeah, I'll root for Ohio State. I have no reason not to root for Ohio State. I can hate Michigan. That's fine. You know, this is easy.
Why not? Yeah. Embrace it. Yeah.
But then like, I'm a huge UConn fan and have been for 30 years now because my dad introduced me to them. You know, it was like close, like women's basketball, which he was a big fan of. It has been forever. Is when they were first starting to get good before they won a championship. So they were like kind of a burgeoning big deal in New England. And I don't know how many of your listeners are familiar with New England's whole deal, but like it's kind of one place, but it's also very not. Don't say that to them.
Okay.
Like there's a lot of infighting about Connecticut and New Hampshire and what's wrong with those places. But it's all
I wouldn't want to get involved in that.
But I mean, you know, it's the New England Patriots for a reason because it's pretty regional. You know, I drove through 3 states to go watch a game at my the college I went to the other day, and it took an hour and 20 minutes. It's not like Texas or anything. Like, you know, it's not a trek. So, you know, that's kind of geography, but kind of just like my dad pushing me toward like, hey, you should watch this. You should care about women's basketball. This team is great. This coach is great. And that is stuck. And I'm doing the same thing to my daughter now. And it's the same coach, and they're still really awesome. So, you know, it won't be the same coach 30 years from now for her, but hopefully she can infect a future child with the same fandom at some point, and they'll still be good. I root for like I went to Merrimack College, so I root for them, but they're not any good. You know, but it's just fun. Like, yeah, I went to school there. That's cool. There's rooting for. There's also just like, I like sports for haters. College football's fun because you don't have to like anybody. Like, I know I said I root for Ohio State, but truly what I root for is the misery of other fan bases.
Okay, so, yeah, I can see there being fun in that.
Yeah, you don't have to have an attachment. It's just like, I enjoy, you know, one loss in college football can just ruin the whole season for you. So like watching that high wire act with everyone is so much fun because they just like 1,000-yard stares of everyone in the crowd and people on social media melting down. Oh, it's great. It's great people watching.
So the drama is kind of what draws you to some of that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I was watching. So like Alabama had a tough year last year, and my a guy a couple houses down the street, I think he went to Alabama. He's every Saturday wearing Alabama gear. It's the like folding chairs he brought to the kids' soccer games were like Alabama branded, and you just saw over the course of the season like his whole demeanor was just different. Like it was just a little sadder and like a little more withdrawn like every Saturday because they were not doing as well as they should have been. And it's like, I love this sport. This is great. This guy's life is ruined.
I would have a hard time with that. I would like feel secondhand bad for them or something. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. Maybe in private, but I would have a hard time socially dealing with that. So that's what I'm not like a big sports fan in general, and like it does intimidate me a little bit, some of the like intense fandom. Not that there's not things I'm involved where I also get that and like fired up about things, but you know what I mean. Sports crowds can be a little intimidating for me.
It is intimidating, but you know there's a lot of like good welcoming community too. Like I don't have a lot of Celtics fans up here because I'm in Maine now and it's just far enough away where, you know, not a lot of people are driving the 2 hours to get into Boston or whatever to go see a game. It was easier to have that community like in Boston when I was there. But you know, being online, being on social media helps. And it is funny, you know, a lot of like other fans of other teams hate that team, which is not like a usual thing for me. People aren't going around like hating the Padres. There's like no reason to hate them, you know. But lots of people hate lots of people hate the Celtics. But that's fun because then you get to take on like a different role. Like it's like, yeah, go ahead, hate them. I don't care. You hate them because they're great. You hate them because they're successful. You hate them because your team is not that team. You know, that's different. If you hate on the Padres, it's kind of like, well, man, you got to go like talk to someone about your anger issues. Like, what are you doing here?
You're like a bully at that point or something.
Yeah, it's like,
right?
What do they do? They've never even won.
I don't really know much.
No, they've never won a World Series. So it's like, what are you bullying them for? Like,
yeah, I usually take on like I'll just get, if I'm with someone who's like really invested in it, I'll just be like, I want them to be happy, so I'm just like rooting for them. So we haven't covered like baseball at all, and we're a year and a half into the N64's like chronology. So we haven't really talked about it. McKenna, like I don't think we've ever talked about baseball together. Like we've talked about like your family's like invested in like a lot of different sports and stuff. Is baseball something you were ever interested in?
Not really. My brother played baseball for a little while. It wasn't his main sport. We were pretty much a soccer family. So I remember going to his games and I like either playing on a playground nearby or like having a soccer ball and just like kicking it around, you know, in the grass. I think my dad will like regularly watch Orioles games on TV.
He's like the kind of guy, like if a game of whatever's on,
he'll watch it. Yeah, it's not like it's not a sport I've paid too much attention to. I've been to a couple minor league. Oh, minor league. Okay. Yeah, I've never been to an Orioles game. I've been to I think a couple Aberdeen Ironbirds, which is they play at Ripken Stadium. And I remember when I was in like middle school, we went on a vacation to South Carolina and we saw a minor league game there. Okay. Do you remember what it was? I don't. Okay. I mostly remember that there was a huge thunderstorm. I think the game ended early and it got like flooded underneath the stadium. Fine. So we're all trying to get out and it's like, you know, there's lightning going on and there's like 3 inches of water that we're trying to avoid. That's a nightmare. I was trying to remember. I think I played the backyard baseball game. Right. There were like a couple of backyard kids sports games I played, and I think baseball was one of them. Okay, so you've played some baseball video games. I feel like a lot of sports games, like it's not unlikely that you know, even for me, like it's not a big fan. Like I've played I don't remember what I've played, but I've definitely played something like All-Star Baseball or whatever, similar to how I've like definitely played games of Madden here and there, or some basketball game. So like it's not like, you know, a totally unfamiliar thing. And you kind of know how the game works. Yeah. Just by existing. So yeah. I played it when I was like a little kid, and then as soon as it got to like the age, I've always been like an indoor kid, you know, and as soon as I got to the age where, you know, like you actually started pitching, I got hit by a pitch and I was already bad, and like that was just like, it's over, like this sucks. like I just, you know, I gave up on that. I was like, I'm just gonna play video games, and like I played music and stuff like that, but I was just like, I don't have to. I talked about it in our last episode. We talked about NBA courtside. I got to an age where I think I was more into sports, like trying to play them and stuff to like fit in, and less because like I was actually like having fun, you know. And then there was a point, like I think in middle school, where I was like, I'm just gonna abandon this. So, yeah, I kind of gave up. But I grew up like Northwest Illinois. It's like a lot of Cubs fans. My grandpa was I actually lived in Chicago during when they won the World Series, and that was crazy. Like, just like going out and existing then or around the city. And actually some of that overlapped. I was actually in a band on tour for a couple of the games, and all the other bandmates are from Akron, Ohio.
and they're big baseball fans, and it was the Indians and the Cubs in the World Series at the time, so that was really exciting, and that was one of those things where I was like, I guess I'm supposed to be the villain here, but like I was just like, I wanted them to be happy, you know. And I've been to a couple, like plenty of Cubs games, and I've been to a Brewers game and a Reds game, like in their respective fields, just because I've had like been in bands with people who are big fans. And actually, when I went over to Japan, I got to go to a game at the Tokyo Dome with the same Ohio guys, and I think that I saw an Ohtani game like right before he came over. I think it was 2017. You might be able to fact check me there, but all I remember is my bandmate saying, "This guy," he was hyping it up to me because I didn't know anything. I brought them to see wrestling because I'm a wrestling fan, and they brought me to see baseball. Oh, awesome. So they were like, "This guy, we're going to see," and I looked it up later. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, 2018 was his first year in MLB, so they
went like, yeah, this guy is really good, and he's going to America soon, and he's going to be really good. I was like, okay, sure. So
understatement.
I got to see it. I didn't fully appreciate it at the time, but then I was in LA like a month ago and saw like murals of him everywhere, and I was like, oh, I saw this guy play in Japan, so that's cool. But anyway,
he is the greatest player ever. Like, like his career numbers at that point, like there are guys who have had better careers or whatever, but just in terms of pure ability, there has never been anyone better at baseball than that guy, which is like a wild thing to think about, you know?
Yeah, it's exciting with these, like, you think like how much better can people be, and people are always like getting better. It's like they're superhuman or something.
Ways to be better. Yeah, it's wow. I played in high school.
Cool.
And I used to do like travel teams and stuff too. And I still play softball now. I mean, obviously less competitive, but like I still have that itch. So I play some like rec softball stuff. And you mentioned basketball. I still play basketball, even though less than I used to since I blew up my knee. But I'm not allowed to play 3 times a week for 2 hours a pop anymore.
Yeah, I imagine basketball can be very intense on your legs.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so we've set the table. We don't know a ton, and we have some questions for you for sure about this game, and we're not sure like if they're stupid questions or not, or if you'll know the answer or whatever, but we'll see. So normally we have a segment that we do that's going to be a little different today. It's our flashback segment. Normally what we do is we say like what was going on at the time, pop culture and news and stuff, but and I talked about this a little bit on our last episode when we were talking about like when I'm looking up days games came out for like other consoles and stuff like that when I'm listing them, and you get conflicting information because I feel like at the time like game release dates weren't always like strict. Mm-hmm. So like one source I look at is different than another one, and that happened now with our chronology for our N64 chronology. So I have like a spreadsheet with all the games in it where I've pulled from a couple different sources that had the same chart, and I don't know where it came from, but they listed All-Star Baseball 99 as having come out April 27th, 1998. That's wrong. It came out May 27th, 1998. Ooh. So we're going out of order here. The podcast is the premise of the podcast is coming all apart because, we're now going to be going back in time. So I'm not going to do the normal thing, but it's actually more interesting because that's actually the day after Major League Baseball starring Ken Griffey Jr. came out. So that week, it was similar to like in our chronology, like in 1997, there was a day where 2 NFL games came out at the same time. So these were going head to head. And I didn't realize it till like we were getting closer because we just start playing the game and all this stuff. And then as we get closer, we McKenna starts looking at Nintendo Power, and I read some reviews and stuff, and all the stuff I'm reading is comparing it so directly to Ken Griffey. And at first I was thinking like, oh, they probably got like a review copy early or whatever, but then the sources you were reading were talking about it like like they were covering it after. So I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, I like to look at the Nintendo Powers from when the game came out, and this one I couldn't find anything for until the June issue, and I was like, that's strange. Like they talked about Ken Griffey in the April issue.
Yeah. So whatever. It's not the end of the world, but I want to get our facts straight and everything. But it'll be interesting when we get to Ken Griffey, because we will. Similar to the football games, we'll be able to like directly compare them, knowing like at that same time they could have come out. And I wanted to highlight, Mark, your article you wrote about you wrote a great article. I'll put a link to it in the description about Nintendo's history with the Mariners and Ken Griffey Jr. And I had one of my first questions for you, I guess, was like, before 1998, what was sort of like the de facto baseball game, similar to like we were just talking about basketball, like before some of the simulation games took hold, like it was all about NBA Jam, like before this console generation. Was it Ken Griffey Jr. or what was it? It seems like there was a lot of different options.
Yeah, I don't think there was a singular series. Okay. So if you look at the release cadence for basketball, there were some arcade games, in the 80s and in the early 90s that got ported over to consoles. But there weren't many licensed games, and NBA Jam ended up being like both of those things. So you had, if you wanted like a sim, like NBA Live was where you went. And if you wanted arcade, you had NBA Jam. Hockey, it's wild, but like NHL 94 is one of the first like dozen hockey games, maybe, which sounds wrong, but it's like hockey didn't get the attention that baseball and basketball did in the 80s, or football.
That's funny, because we have talked about now 4 hockey games for N64 on this podcast. Yeah, and no baseball until now.
But it's but there weren't like hockey had its like mid 90s kind of, it expanded more, but that was easier to find, like what was the definitive thing, back then. But what happened with baseball is there were barely any. Most of the systems didn't have the same baseball games. Baseball did not adhere to a need for licensing. World Series Baseball was the first baseball game that came out in 1994. Was the first baseball game that had the licensing of both the MLBPA, the Players Association, and the league. So before that point, all those baseball games that had come out, dozens and dozens and dozens of them, none of them had all the real players and all the real teams, all the logos, all the stadiums, all the everything. Nothing was like authentic to the degree that World Series Baseball was. So think about how many baseball games came out before 1994, and none of them were that. So I think with everyone throwing their names on things, and the Players Association and the league were very much at odds, labor battles, things of that nature. So they were both licensing out pretty much as many games as they could, because it just built up more revenue, like specifically for them, which was necessary when there's work stoppages and such. So no one had rallied behind a specific series, and nothing had taken off in a way. So Nintendo doing the Ken Griffey Jr. series was in part because they had this partnership with the Mariners, because they own them. But it was also like, oh, there's a void. Sega is making. They have World Series Baseball. Nintendo had made baseball, literally just called Baseball, was a launch game that Miyamoto wanted on the NES.
Oh yeah, we did actually cover that one.
So there's long like company interest in it, but yeah, it's Konami had Pro Yaku. I think Namco was doing something too. But everyone was doing something. There was no like nothing to like coalesce behind anything yet. So that would be something that came later. And then Sony has Triple Play when they have the PlayStation, and Sega's doing. They go from World Series Baseball to when they get the future 2K company. It's they start making their 2K series. And Nintendo's got Ken Griffey Jr. for a bit until he gets traded to the Reds. So then they stopped making those.
Oh, that's what did it. Okay.
And then like Acclaim has the Big Hurt baseball, Frank Thomas baseball, which becomes All-Star Baseball. So it's really just like
yes,
every company that could make a baseball game was making a baseball game.
Why not? Yeah.
And like EA got in on it. Konami did like the ESPN game, I think, at one point. Because instead of like localizing Pro Yaku, it would become and what is it? Power Pros. Event, like a decade later.
I was looking, like, I'm pretty sure too, like, we're gonna be, in like a few months. Oh yeah, in a few months, like, we're gonna cover Ken Griffey Major League, but then like a few months after that, there's Strike Zone.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're gonna now have a bunch to talk about on the podcast. So yeah, seems like like
I said about the release cadence. There was 1 or 2 hockey games a year for a bit. Like there were more later, but for a bit there was like 1 or 2. Basketball, there was only a few, but baseball, in between World Series baseball and the next World Series baseball a year later, there was like 12 or 13 other baseball games that came out, which is just a huge number.
That's crazy.
You've got a few football ones, but Madden is really starting to take hold there already. They would eventually be challenged by 2K, but that's because of like a falling out of Sega and EA. But baseball, was really like unsettled. Now it's the opposite, because you basically have the show, and that's it. And Super Mega Baseball, but like that's purposely unlicensed, or it's alumni.
Right.
It's like alumni. It's retired players. It's not current ones. So.
I think that's been like kind of a theme of like most of the sports franchises. They kind of just settle into someone's got the license.
Someone pays for the exclusivity, which is so much different than like the mid 90s, where there were so many baseball games that there was no definitive baseball series, and they were really just figuring it out.
Well, I highly recommend people like read that article. It makes a really good case for why Ken Griffey Jr. should be in Smash, which I also agree with.
Hey everyone, my name's Darren Hupke. I'm a writer, publisher, and podcaster. My podcast is called Pixels and Polygons. Each week I sit down with a guest and ask one simple video game question. It's a random topic each week, and it leads to a fun conversation. You can find it on your favorite podcast platform every Friday, and you can read more about it at pixelsandpolygons.net.
All-Star Baseball 99 is the second game in the All-Star Baseball series. You can choose to play an exhibition game, a season, or playoffs, as well as a home run derby. Your options for a season include a shorter season against your league rivals, an 87-game season where you play each team 3 times, and a 162-game season, either matching the 1998 MLB season schedule or only playing against league rivals. You can choose to participate in spring training, where you'll play 5 or 10 preseason games, during which you can trade players, cut players, sign free agents, and bring players up from the minor league. In the middle of an 87 or 162-game season, you'll get to play an all-star game and the home run derby. Playoff options include Division, Championship, and World Series. Customize your game experience by choosing Simulation or Arcade mode, participating in the draft, and creating a player. Choose your team, your stadium, and your favorite time of day, and play ball in All-Star Baseball 99.
The time of day is important for sure.
Yeah,
I'm never
it's like
not
my
going
favorite
for
option
Twilight,
to choose. Yeah.
Just the best vibes. So Acclaim, they've been like one of our most prolific third-party developers we've talked about on the show. Iguana Entertainment, specifically, we've talked about Turok, NFL Quarterback Club, NHL Breakaway, and Acclaim. Extreme G was another one they published. And yeah, as you said, there's the All-Star Baseball series, So the first one was All-Star Baseball 97, featuring Frank Thomas for the PS1 and Saturn. Mark, do you have much familiarity with that one? Did you play that one at all?
It's all right.
Okay.
It's like the leap from that game to All-Star Baseball 99 is kind of wild.
Yeah, that one had like the two. It was like digitized kind of sprites of the people. I mean, I noticed. I watched a little bit of gameplay, and like the audio was really good. I assume because like CD based, I was like, oh, they got good like sound clips on here. Oh, there was also a Game Boy version of this game that was released.
Yeah.
I thought,
which I've never played that.
We played a little bit of it. It was pretty fun. Like, I think I was like, oh, this is like, it's very simplistic, obviously, but it works pretty well for a Game Boy. I could see it like on the fly if you're traveling. Like, it could be a fun little diversion. So yeah, I thought that was decent. That might have been too what maybe the release date on my chart was the Game Boy version. I don't know.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Anyway, so the cover athlete on this game, we like to shout them out. You had Larry Walker from the Colorado Rockies, who I was looking at. He was the MVP of the previous season in his division. So opposite of Ken Griffey Jr. So I guess that's kind of cool. Like, their games coming out at the same time. They're kind of rival players. I actually did not know who Larry Walker was. Do you have any fond memories of Larry Walker? Or?
Oh yeah, Larry Walker was great.
Cool.
So he's in the Hall of Fame now, right? Yeah. So Larry Walker in the All-Star game. We've talked about Randy Johnson, but we talked about it off the podcast,
we're big Randy Johnson stands for sure.
Yeah, he was inducted in 2020. So Randy Johnson in the All-Star game threw a pitch like behind Larry Walker, at Randy Johnson speeds, at bird killing speeds. And Larry Walker
annihilation.
Larry Walker went to the other batter's box on the other side of the plate and turned his helmet around backwards and batted the opposite side. He was just like, nope, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that in this game. I'm not standing over there.
Okay, I guess if we're talking about the rosters, because he was the MVP, or the MVP of the league the previous season, I think it was. This was something I was going to ask, and then McKenna, you asked me right before we started recording. We were wondering about the rosters and like the name of the game, because these games, both this and Ken Griffey Jr., come out like right when the 98 season is starting. And McKenna, what's your question?
Well, I think mine was more, I understand why like the fall winter sports have like the year ahead, because that's when they end. But like something like this where it's all taking place in 98, like why do they call it 99? Is that just convention for all sports?
Yeah, no, is it like a car thing? Like, it sounds new, or...
Yeah, they did a year ahead. All-Star Baseball was interesting because not everyone did it, so they'd be coming out against competing games sometimes that were like using the correct year. But yeah, this has the 98 rosters based on the 98 results. So you got 98 stats.
Well, that's what I was confused about. With 98
rosters marketed as 99.
What I didn't get was like this came out like at the start of the season. So like, do they have like, and I don't know how long the development cycle is, but like, do they, I don't know if this is a stupid question or not, but like, how do they know, when do the rosters all come together? And like, I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. I thought they might base it off the previous year or something.
That's at the end of spring training. As the games have gotten, now it matters less because they have like more expansive minor leagues. So like, if a guy gets promoted to the major league roster at the end of spring training and the game came out earlier, it's like, well, he's right there. Like, put him on the roster if you care that much. They also do, they push out roster updates, digitally now as downloads. So, but back then, it was, the game came out in May probably because, they knew who was going to be in it for the most part. There's a couple of players who like don't have a photo maybe, or I think there's a bug in the game because like random stuff happens when you're just doing it. Like Jason Varitek had like one at bat in the majors in the year before, and he got a hit. So even though his contact level is like a C plus or something, if you sim the season, he'll bat like 500 or 600 or something ridiculous because the game doesn't know, but like that stuff you can iron out now. But like I think they came out a little later so they could try and keep stuff like that from happening. But when you're dealing with, there were 30 teams. There's well, I'm not doing the math. There's a lot of players, 900 players, something like that. 25 a team back then. Now it's 26. Yeah, I think they had the roster settled, and it was just making sure all that stuff made sense and like filling out the minor leagues with enough of those guys and getting all they put in the work obviously early because they have the names of most of the players ready. It's not often that you hear like coming to the plate, the center fielder. Usually it's like coming to the plate, Otis Nixon. And you're like, oh yeah, Otis Nixon. I'm remembering some guys.
I did think like that they had that pretty on lock. Like the presentation of this I thought looked pretty good. Like I don't have much to compare it to obviously, but like I don't know, like the game we've talked about it like previously, like we've played a couple games like sports simulation games where you can tell something's like lacking in the vibe, and I thought all around like this felt pretty, I guess, polished, you could say.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good.
Like, I thought like, and I think that's not surprising because like Quarterback Club wasn't like my favorite game, but that game also like looked and felt pretty good, which I think is a big part of capturing it. But I thought this was good. Like even just like in the you could tell even just like stadium selection when you could like just zoom in and look at the stadiums for a second. I was like, wow, this looks like really nice. So. I don't know if that's accurate, Mark. Like, if you feel like compared to other games, like, was this one of the more marquee, like, audio visual vibe baseball games from the time?
Yeah, it looked great. I distinctly remember playing it in at home after I got it, and like on the family TV because the N64 was there for a little bit, and like my dad and I looking at it and just being like, oh, this looks real. Which is fun. It's funny now, but like you always do that. You have that like it looked more real than anything had looked that we had seen. The N64 had its limitations, but it also had a lot of horsepower in there. For the companies that like used it appropriately. And Iguana was one of those developers who certainly knew what they were doing on the N64. So they squeezed quite a bit out. The stuff that doesn't look right is the stuff that doesn't look right or didn't look right on anything. The jerseys. Yeah. The jerseys look correct, but they don't look like clothes hanging on a body. They look like they are the body,
Yeah, like painted on them or something. Yeah.
So it's not a flowing jersey that's on them. It's like, no, that's that guy's torso. He looks like that.
That's his body, yeah.
But like...
Yeah, like...
I don't know, the fields look good, the crowd, except for like the introductory shot, the crowd doesn't... It's not that like repeating motion that you even have in like WWF WrestleMania 2000 or whatever, where you see the crowd doing the same motion again and again the whole time.
It's awkward, yeah.
They like made it look far enough away that like you're not distracted by it. It just looks like the seats are full. I don't know. Everything is pretty crisp and clear. The faces are like a lot of them are obscured, but you can see just enough where you're like, oh, that face looks different than the previous face.
I don't know what a lot of players look like, but the ones that I do, I was like, oh, it kind of looks like Randy Johnson, and he's like pitching, so he's like kind of far away too. So I'm like, okay.
The fact they actually had faces on those guys, because like World Series baseball for a bit, it was like no one had faces, and they purposely zoomed things in to a degree where it's like you don't have to see, and everyone has the exact same swing animation, and everyone has the same body, and so they like a lot of that stuff changed, and. The pitchers walk back to the mound after like catching the ball from the catcher, and like, they waddle a little funny, like everyone did in 1998. And you hear some sound effects where if you've got the ear for it and you've played enough games, you're like, why is there an Ocarina of Time Link footsteps sound effect happening in this like baseball game? Yeah. But like it all sounds right. None of it sounds wrong. The audio, I don't think, is as impressive as what Konami was doing with the Pro Yaku games, but that was capturing a different vibe too, because I mean, you said you went and saw baseball in Japan in the Tokyo Dome. There's like an electricity in the crowd that is absent, I think.
It's actually reversed, like wrestling and baseball are kind of reversed. Like, well, wrestling gets like really electric, but it always starts from a more like, we're observing these athletes, and then you know they get more and more excited. Whereas like, yeah, the baseball crowds at the Tokyo Dome, it was more like a wrestling show. There was like people waving giant banners and singing songs, and I was like, whoa, you know, it was awesome. It was one of the best baseball games I've ever seen.
So I feel like that's captured in the games, just that like buzz. There's that background buzz, you know, that is like, and so All-Star Baseball is not going to capture that because they're not capturing a Japanese game. They're capturing an American game. But it does make it like a less impressive audio. But on the other hand, I don't think the announcers, like there's a little stitching. You can clearly hear where they like stitch together some things, but it's not egregious. It's not where you can like make fun of it. The only problem is like the general lack of lines there are, but that's like no, it's not like anyone else had more lines. So you know, this is all just like of the time stuff. So for the era, I think it's like wildly impressive, and it still holds up. You can see how it's a leap over the early editions of these games. You can see kind of the power of the N64 at play, and it also took up a lot of memory card space. That game is the first one I owned that required I buy a third-party memory card, because the first-party ones did not have enough pages on them to do like a franchise or a season.
Oh, really? Okay.
I didn't know. Just straight up could not with the like base size memory card. So I got one of those like the third-party ones with the 4 separate, like the little switch, and you toggle it, and each one of them is huge.
Wow. Okay, that's cool to know, because like that is something we've been tracking too as we kind of go through chronologically. Is like we definitely noticed a lot. Like, dang, like if I was really precious about, like at the time I would have been more precious about my snowboard kids save data, you know. But this I was thrown into I think this game or another game we were playing, and I was like, I don't know, I've got like 3 memory cards. I don't want to buy any more right now. So I guess, Snowboard Kids has got to go for now. So yeah, we're tracking the memory card situation as we go. So it's good to know. I didn't realize that, because I think we use like maybe a third party one. So we didn't have that. Actually, maybe we didn't save for this game. I don't think
we saved a season.
I
didn't save any of the seasons I played.
It like warns you at the beginning. You get this big, screen that comes before that title screen. I think the music plays like lower, when that shows up, and it doesn't go to full volume until you go past that. You're like, what is this? Why is the sound wrong? And then you're looking, it's like, oh, okay.
McKenna, anything I guess about like the vibes or like playing the game stand out to you? Anything?
Yeah, I've been. I decided to start doing this with sports games where I just like let the CPUs play while I'm writing my description and looking at the manual and the Nintendo Power. It's just like, all right, we're just gonna, feel out the vibes. And yeah, it was cool to listen to the announcers, even though they did have, they repeated a lot of lines, but I found that like, even if I wasn't completely, watching the game all the time, just because I could hear them, I knew what was going on. I knew, they couldn't see whoever was hitting. Just they'd say like, oh, he had no idea where that pitch was going, or like someone would come up and they'd say, this guy's really good with right-handed pitchers.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, it was fun to listen to them, and it's also really fun to watch all the different stances the batters take.
There's actually like a diverse amount too. We were looking at there's a character creator in this, which is cool. We messed around with it just a little bit, but yeah, like cycling through them, there's like such a range, and yeah, some of them are quite funny, I think, but I assume they tried their best to like have enough to kind of like accurately as best as they could match a lot of the players. I don't know if like did you feel that way, like knowing some of the players, Mark? Like, was it like, oh yeah, this is kind of like this guy or whatever?
Yeah. There's There's a lot of stances that you can kind of reuse because they're kind of generic, and a lot of players they don't have like a unique stance. But I do remember it doing a pretty good job. So like on the Padres, Quilvio Veras like waggles his bat a lot. He crouches down and he just like this like the whole time, like he's got somewhere to be. So they like captured that. Jeff Bagwell on the Astros looks like he's basically sitting. It's the most uncomfortable. Like he is sitting on an invisible chair while he's there. He is so low, and you don't understand how anyone could ever do it. And like they captured it, as best as you could in 1998. And that stuff sticks out.
I would imagine some of them
gives it like a little extra flavor.
I would think some of them like they made probably with like a specific player in mind, maybe, and like they could apply it to more. We were talking about that. This is a little different, but I thought about it in the same way as like Dennis Rodman in a lot of games. Like they have to like the court side. We were talking about like depending on where you played, like they change his hair color, and I was thinking like. I don't know if it helps you as an athlete, but like if you have like a distinct thing about you that when they're like putting you into a video game, they're like, we actually have to account for this somewhat. I don't know, that's good for your personal brand, I would say. So I don't know if there's a particular player that actually happened for, but it sounds like they nailed some people, at least got close to it. So McKenna, you mentioned the broadcasters. Maybe Mark, I don't know if you want to tell us about. It was John Sterling and Michael Kay. Mm-hmm. They were the Yankees broadcasters, who seemed to be like the best team in the game, stats wise. So I guess that's fitting. Like, did that make sense at the time, or?
Yeah, they. They won the World Series in '96. They ended up winning in '98. They were really good in '97, but they didn't win. It kind of worked out then as they became. I don't want to say like America's team or something because it's not like anyone outside of New York was rooting for them. But they were
people hate
the
them.
Team. Yeah, they were the team of the era though. Like whether anyone wanted that to happen or not. So
okay.
Yeah, a bunch of Hall of Famers, a bunch of championships. They won three World Series in a row. Yeah, 98, 99, 2000. And then I think Derek Jeter was on the cover for, multiple? Like, he became, like, the guy All-Star Baseball was using for a few years, instead of them having different cover athletes every year. So, someone in those offices, it's a big Yankees guy,
I guess this is less about the game, but sort of speaking of that season, we're not actually there in our like chronology at the time, but is there any like standout moments from the 98 baseball season that like you remember fondly?
Oh my God. That's when McGuire hit 70 home runs and they broke, him and Sosa both broke Maris's record.
Yep. That was a big deal in my area, obviously, like the, cause that was also just a big rivalry, the Cubs and the Cardinals. Especially in like rural, like I was in Western Illinois, so like it was a lot of Cubs fans, but like also like we're also the same distance from St. Louis, so like it wasn't uncommon to also be like Cardinals fans, even though it was more Cubs. So that was definitely like that was probably like the last major like baseball thing. Like I was invested. I was like 8 years old at the time, so. That's for sure what I remember.
Yeah, that took over everything because it wasn't just like baseball that became like the sports news. That was the thing. Like whether you were big on baseball or not, it was showing up everywhere. So, it also like they talked about that as being like the thing that like saved baseball because the popularity had been flagging a little bit after the '94 strike and, which don't get me started on that. I'm pro player, just in case anyone who listens is not aware about that. So they should strike all they want if they have to. But really,
for sure,
that really helped, like, kind of bring it back into the spotlight, and a lot of hard feelings were smoothed over, sort of thing. Especially because I don't give a shit about the Yankees, So like, I don't care if they were one of the best teams ever. He had McGuire and Sosa, so that was fun.
Yeah, like neither were. Yeah. I think Sosa, he was MVP, right? So, that was kind of cool for us because, like, at the time, I think so. At least that's how I remember it. So that was like kind of a a cool thing for us, because at the time, you know, the Cubs had not won a World Series in a long time. And I was happy. Yeah, I was happy they were actually able to. My grandpa, who passed away a few years ago, he was a big Cubs fan. He was like always watching, and in his whole life, like, I don't know if they were ever that great, really, or
No.
I don't know. So, but he got to see it, so that was a cool thing. But definitely the Sammy Sosa thing was really exciting. So
that's the thing about, so they, you know, the Red Sox went their 86 years without winning, but their problem was that they got close a bunch of times and like lost in heartbreaking fashion in all of those. So it was like, oh, you can get really close, but you're not going to finish climbing the mountain. The Cubs could not find the mountain, you know, like,
yeah,
never mind climbing to the top of it. Like, they didn't even know where it was for
right.
Like, they made, I don't know, a couple World Series in the course of 108, you know, it's like, it's not like they, 2003 when they lost in the championship series, like, they hadn't had that moment. But the Red Sox had like 6 of those, where it was just like someone ripped their heart out and stomped all over it, you know? So it was like a different kind of, yeah, it's like a different kind of like century of failure, you know? It's like they didn't have the same flavor of them. But I mean, they're both over it now.
Yeah, now what do we have? We don't have much to, like, it's almost better when you can have the chip on your shoulder, but now it's like, what do we do? Yeah. We can't complain anymore, which is half the fun, I think, is complaining. Okay, so yeah, like vibes wise, I think they got it pretty good. Just as far as, I mean, I'm only really comparing it to what we've talked about so far. We mentioned it with some of the sports games where it's like, oh, this is maybe a little underbaked. You know, the audio clips maybe a little crunchy compared to those CD audio clips from the previous game, but overall good. But McKenna, what about playing the game? You know, you're playing as someone who doesn't, you know, you played backyard baseball or whatever, but coming into it as not a seasoned baseball really fan or player. I don't know. What do you think about actually playing the game?
So batting is I think a little tough to try and figure out. I thought, you know, I kind of started to get it a little bit doing like the home run derby. And I thought that the batting was going to be the part of the game that I enjoyed more, but I actually enjoyed pitching more, playing defense, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I liked trying out different pitches. I looked up some of the pitches because I wasn't familiar with them, and I'm like, oh my god, there's so many different grips.
Yeah, you didn't realize like
all the different. Oh, you hold it. I saw some. I was like, wow, I can't imagine throwing a baseball like this.
I was like, yeah, of course, but I couldn't tell you like any of them, like how you're supposed to hold any of them.
And then like beyond the pitching, I really liked. I think they had a great use of the C buttons because it just maps up with the bases.
Yes.
It's just like perfect for this.
Yes, to tie it back to we've booked it bookend this year with you, Marc. In January, we defended the N64 controller.
Right.
Another point for the N64 controller. Other consoles wish they could.
It's definitely, I think, tougher to figure out than other sports games, like a greater barrier to entry. But I felt like I still felt like I was enjoying it, even though I was never really playing well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a bit of nuance. I think it's like a just ever so slight barrier to entry. Like when we started, like we put on the easiest difficulty and do the thing I always do is like I pick the Yankees and then like the worst team I could find, just because I always start with these because I don't know what I'm doing and I'm like, okay, I want to figure out how to win like this, and then then I'll play like a normal game and kind of work my way up to just like normal, and there's even doing that, I feel like there's a slight you can't just go in knowing like, okay, I aim the reticule and I swing and I hit it right. There's like a couple nuances that I feel like you actually have to sort of not master, but like understand before like really doing okay at it. I think like with batting, there was a mechanic of guessing the pitch. And I feel like that was a game changer. Like where if you guess the pitch the pitcher is going to throw, and if you guess correctly, you are more likely to hit the ball. You're like the hit box becomes wider, and that really like made a difference to me, where I was more consistently like hitting either like base hits or home runs and stuff like that. And then for pitching, it was like understanding the quadrants of the batters, whether if it was like red in one corner, it meant they like hit really good from there or something like that. So I feel like once you get that, like it's like okay, I felt like I could start to do okay. Like I was like winning easily, but it took like a couple games of like, what am I doing wrong? Like I'm doing okay, but like I'm like struggling to win as the Yankees against like, whoever the worst team was. So I don't know if that sounds right to you, Mark, because you probably have a lot of like history with it, muscle memory, but it definitely took us like a little bit.
Yeah, it I mean, at this stage in baseball games with simulations getting kind of more complicated, it's a huge change from what they did with more of the arcade style ones, which is like what the older Ken Griffey Jr. games were, where you're not picking a pitch. You're pressing the button to throw a pitch, and then you move on the D-pad, like kind of like, oh, I'm going to make this one like tail away or what, or slow down mid pitch. Like just physics don't work that way, except for in this arcade game. And this was different, where it's like I have to know how much the slider is going to break and where it is going to end up, and if it is going to entice the batter to swing, or if I am going to leave it in a zone where they're gonna crush it. Am I going to leave it hanging out over the plate? It's like stuff that you didn't have to consider in some of the older baseball games, and it just adds this layer of complexity. The guessing thing is fascinating because you would think, oh, I don't want to guess. I don't want to figure it out. It's like you're guessing every time anyway. You're moving that reticule to where you think that's going to be, so you can get like the best part of that the sweet spot on the contact oval there, on that spot. You're already guessing from the start. You might as well guess what the pitch is, and then if you guess wrong, like don't swing at it, because you get like you take the strike and you try again on the next one. So it actually makes you a better hitter to be doing that guessing beforehand, because it's like you're strategizing, and then you learn like, oh, pitchers do work in like a pattern. But if you come into it and you're not familiar with this kind of game or familiar with how baseball works, like, yeah, it's going to take time to get that. It creates a game where you understand the sport better or having played it. Yeah,
actually. So I did like by my last few games with it, I wasn't like, oh, I'm the world's biggest baseball fan, but I was like I was finding myself able to get invested in the games that I was playing more so than just like, yep, okay, I guess I'm up at bat now. Like, I don't know if it's a game I'll revisit a ton, but like it has me excited more so to like for those other games we're playing to play and just see, like get invested and see if like those mechanics are as engaging as this. I like found the fact that it required you to do that did make the game like just a little bit more compelling than it could have been, than something like just going up to bat at Wii Sports or whatever, baseball. Yeah. I found the best thing to do, I would usually just default guess fastball, because I felt like those were the, I don't know, that felt like the easiest thing to hit. So I was like, if it, it confirms to you when they throw it that you guessed right. And I'm like, so it's good to, I'm like, oh, this is a fastball, and it's like right down the middle. So I'm going to go for it. I don't know.
Did you use the power swing much, or did you just stick with the contact one?
I tried it a couple times, and I probably need to experiment with it more, but every time I was like, oh, that didn't go well. So I don't know. Is there a strategy with that? I kind of usually felt like I hit it like right to someone.
Yeah, that really is like, you have to hit it exactly, It's if you hit it a little off to the side, like you're not going to get it. But if you do get it like right on the screws, you're going to crush it. But that requires not just, you're not just guessing the pitch then, but you're guessing its movement, exactly where it's going to end up. So you don't have, it's like you turned every hitter into like a bad hitter who has a tiny contact zone. Except the difference is if you get the hit here, you're going to hit it 400 something feet instead of like whatever the bad hitter, hit it like in the infield or whatever. You do get to a point if you keep playing. I remember I used to use that the draft thing, and you would completely change the rosters of every team in this draft. I purposely would only pick players who had I could not pick a player who had an overall grade higher than like C+, whether like for any position. I played enough of it that like I did that, and then I would see like, oh, let's see how many games I can win with this team that I made to be like mediocre. Like how far can I take them? And
that's the level of engagement that I like kind of want to get to with some of these games. Like we've talked about it. There's only a few that we've covered where I like got more invested into a lot of that extra stuff, like the team management, the seasons and stuff like that. I didn't do a ton of it here because I was really just more trying to like get the get the basics down and like get into like winning games consistently and stuff. But I was wondering, as someone who's like really into that stuff, it sounds like there is like, because I never know. I'm a bad judge at like, oh, is this a good season mode compared to this game or that game? It sounds like that stuff is pretty decent in this game.
It was pretty robust for the time. Yeah. It's I don't think the full like franchise mode had taken over as like the norm yet. So if it's like, oh, I can do a season, that's great. I can do like a real live season and without the like player movement in the off season and stuff like that. That was like a to come thing. But yeah, it felt pretty robust at the time. I enjoyed it enough that I would do that draft. I didn't do it like more than once, and I had a pretty good sense of like the team I was going to build, and like went back to that again and again.
Okay, that is cool. That's cool. I mean, you messed around a little bit with that stuff. I don't know. You're usually just kind of like tinkering, like seeing how it works, really. But did you?
Yeah, I like
takeaways?
Did a couple drafts. Like I did one where I just let the computer pick the whole thing, and it took several minutes. So I'm like walking around checking in to see if it's done.
Cool.
And then it finished, and I was like, okay, I don't know what this means. Like I don't know who's on what roster. But yeah. Then I did one where I picked some, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna pick like the best players. And I read in Nintendo Power that the computer does not make good decisions. So like you could go through and just pick all the best players because they'll still be there at the end.
Oh, okay.
Well, at least potentially. I don't know if it's random or what the computer picks. But yeah, then I did some of the season stuff and the playoff stuff. That's what I was doing when I was like letting the computer play, because I'm kind of just interested to see like, oh, if I play like the MLB season, which would take a really long time, so I didn't do all of it. Like how close would it get?
But you found there's like a lot of stuff that happens like in the game when you play like a full season.
Like a full season would have the 87 or the 162 has the All-Star game and the home run derby in the middle.
So that's kind of fun. Like it breaks it up. Like you can really cause or like role play. Like you're like, okay, now it's time for the All-Star game. Yeah,
and it'll choose like the All-Star teams based on whoever was performing the best during the season you played.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, that's pretty cool. You're saying the computer doesn't always make good decisions. Like, I don't know if you remember, like you remember the game you just running the other day.
Yeah,
we had this thing where I don't know if you saw the video I posted, Mark, but we had this thing happen where McKenna was just letting a game run, and they got the bases loaded, and the pitcher just kept, instead of pitching, like trying to throw to third base, You know how you can do that instead of pitch, like, and it did that on loop for like, how long was it? Like 5?
It was at least 5 minutes. I think one time he threw to second base instead.
And then like there was like a couple times they'd throw a pitch and then they get like caught in this loop again. So I don't know how the AI works there. But yeah, it was having a hard time. Overall,
it's
usually
not designed to take itself on, so it's probably like taking a big lead on third base, like pushing it, and then the pitcher's like, hey, get back there. But instead of it like recognizing that it's just challenging its own,
It's a limitation of that's always something I've kind of thought was cool about a lot of the sports games we've played, is how like free flowing it can be. Like you can jump in and out of games, even in like a season. You could go into a season you're playing and you could have 4 players play against the opposing team or whatever. I always like that, and that would happen to me sometimes where I'd be like playing the game and I wanted to do something, but I was like, I don't want to play like the whole game tonight. So like while I'm doing this, I'm just gonna let the computer take over for an inning or two. I don't know. There's something like, even though these are like these simulation games, there's like a casual, like something that makes it kind of approachable. Like even though the AI might not be pretty good, but I don't know. That was fun. Even just you were doing like 1 inning.
Yeah, I did one today where I set it to 1 inning, and I think I had one game that went to like 9 innings because they were just tied after each one.
It was almost like, it was like almost like how the recent World Series was, where it just went into crazy extra innings. Except
it was like a
normal baseball game.
Yeah. It was a game where I was like, all right, after this game, I'm going to do something else. And then that particular one went really long. That was because I wanted to check if they played the Canadian national anthem.
And they do.
Yes, I was like, all right, I'm going to put the 2 Canadian teams against each other because I've only heard the U.S. national anthem. And yeah, they did.
There you go. There was good, that reminds me too, there was good just like organ music happening on the field. Some of the best, compared to the hockey games we've played, I think some of the best organ music on the N64 that you can get. So
you can't do a hockey game with bad organ music. That's just, what's the point?
Yeah, it's usually clears the bar, but the audio is, I think, a little bit better. And there was all the different, the baseball, some of the baseball tunes are they're kind of more fun, I think, but yeah, that stuff's pretty cool. The creative player, the home run derby, that was also like probably the first thing I started doing, actually. And that even took a little bit, like when I first started playing, I thought you wanted to line up the like reticule like right dead center with the ball, but then I found like in the home run derby you want it to be like a little bit lower, and you would hit it more. So I was like, oh, okay, there's like, that's something we've been noticing with a lot of these sports games in this era of like actually trying to like incorporate more to the physics. I mean, I'm sure that's something that's always been a part of these games, but like feels like they're going deeper in it. So I did start to feel like, oh yeah, like there's a rhyme and a reason to like where I'm hitting the ball and everything like that. It didn't just feel like I swing and I hope I hit it. So I imagine that's a thing that gets more engaging as you go in and like I saw you had the option. There's a lot of good options of turning off like the pitch assist and stuff like that. So I could see like when you get more comfortable with that, starting to recognize like how the ball moves and stuff like that. So just like a lot of cool features here. Do you remember any of there's actually some fun cheats in this game. I don't know if you recall any of them, but they're just ones you can enter, I think on like the start screen. We messed around with a couple of them and they're pretty fun.
I can't remember. I'm sure I did something, but God, it was 12. I know that was so long ago.
There's some that are quite fun. Like it's got your class, it's got the big head mode or whatever, but there's also one.
I think I put like that in.
There's paper players where everyone's like Paper Mario style, like 2D flat. But then there's my favorite one is there's one where you play against a team of aliens. They have like crazy body proportions and they're green. And the home field is like, it's all crazy, like green and purple, like you're playing on like a Martian planet or something. So
Iguana at their most iguana now.
So yeah, I don't know. I thought this was a pretty cool game. It seems like it reviewed pretty well at the time. Like, comparatively, it seems like it. Whenever I talk to people who are like nostalgic about baseball games from this period, Ken Griffey usually does come up a lot. Mm-hmm. I definitely have had some friends I've played the N64 Ken Griffey with, but it seems like a lot when I was comparing review scores, like it seems like this game actually was a bit better received. I don't know if that, like, Mark, you it seems like you were a fan of the Ken Griffey, like the previous games. Like, was there a reason, do you remember, that you picked this one instead of Ken Griffey, or was it just like, it sounds like your dad might have bought the game too.
I don't even know if I picked this one. I think this might have been one of the ones where they were like, there's a baseball game and he likes baseball.
For sure. Okay.
And I also, my buddy who had an N64 had the Griffey game, and that would happen a lot. Like I had Final Fantasy 2, it was 2 and 3 at the time. I had Final Fantasy 2.
Yeah.
He had Final Fantasy 3. So we'd like swap them when we wanted to play the other one,
Mm-hmm.
I had Phantasy Star 4. He had something else, like there's a lot of that. So it would be like, well, we can't double up, like he's getting that, I'll get this, and then we'll play them together, separate, swap them, that sort of stuff.
That's smart as a kid when you only get so many games a year.
Yeah, that was like, you're not old enough to work. You have birthday money coming in from family or whatever. It's not that much money, but yet, those fives or whatever add up. And, your parents will get you a game for your birthday or for Christmas or something. Or if your report card was really good. And, yeah, so you couldn't waste those opportunities.
Well, it sounds like this is a solid game. So you maybe made the right choice. I don't know.
I put a lot of hours into this game, which is it's rare that I don't revisit very fully before I write about a game or like go to talk about it on a podcast. But I put this on for about 30 minutes and just like everything flooded back because I realized that like I hadn't picked it up in years, and I started immediately doing all the things that I knew you had to do. And like without looking anything up, it's like, oh yeah, this is how you guess a pitch. Oh yeah, this is how you hit the cutoff man. Oh yeah, and it's like, oh, this is just in there. All of it's in there. I just needed to move it to the front of my brain again.
Was that comforting? There's like, to me, sometimes like games like that, you just have like the muscle memory of, and it's like, oh, okay, like okay, cool.
It's nice, and it was cool seeing it even just for a little bit in like the fresher eyes, where I'm like looking and I'm like, oh, this is a very like N64 style camera pan that they're doing. Yes, kind of thing that like shows up in the system a lot. And like when I was younger, I wouldn't have clocked that. But now I have so much experience with so many other systems and so many other games where it's like, oh no, this is a very N64 thing. It's like that is something they were doing with the technology to show off what the system could do. It was like an easy way to like get an impressive kind of view going. But it's very much like that system, and their sound effects. And it reminded me of like it had some of the like camera effects, and it's a funny comparison because one of the sports of like Rogue Squadron. Just the way they like pan. Mm-hmm. So then they do those like when the levels would start and they do the cinematics and they kind of pan over the level and everything. It just had a very similar like angling and speed and everything to it.
Like Ocarina of Time has that too. When you like enter a town for the first time. I had that same like. It might be because when I was a kid, I did play Quarterback Club. So like just something about like the menus and stuff like that. Like it's different, but like it has a similar kind of feel to it. So, like the metallic, big signs for everything and like the sound effects. So there's something nice about that too.
Before I even turned it on, I heard that song that plays like in my head, just like knowing that I was going to talk about this today. And then when I did turn it on and it started like exactly like I remember, and I was like, oh my God, that's just in there in my brain somewhere.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah. I knew when you were like, I played this, I was like, I know Mark's going to be good for this for sure. Regardless of, is there anything else you wanted to say about the game before we get out of here?
Yeah, it's fine. I think this is the one I like the most. Like they made new additions to it and they kept changing some stuff and like trying to keep up. And I don't know if the review scores reflect that, like the broader review scores, but I feel like this was kind of like the high point, like coming off a low point. and hit a high point. And I think things might be got more realistic, but they got like a lot of acclaim stuff. I think they got lapped by other companies.
Yeah.
Eventually. So this feels like this was the, I don't know if it's the furthest ahead that the series ever was necessarily, but it's like they were at least on the same level as the best of the competition at this point. Like, I don't think anyone who bought this game and had it for the N64 probably wasn't upset that they didn't have triple play. You know, they weren't like, oh, I wish I had a PlayStation so I could play triple play. But then, the next era of consoles, I think it gets a little messier, and I don't know if they kept up with things as well, which makes sense too, because a lot of Iguana talent left basically after this game.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Because Retro Studios formed the next year out of a bunch of ex-Iguana. So, it would make sense if this was kind of in that era of like, oh, this is the high point of Iguana, and then you don't really get that much. Not that they get nothing, but it would make sense that maybe it's not quite up to it in the way everything else was.
That'd be cool to track, I guess, as we go chronologically. Maybe we'll see the decline of Iguana and the All-Star Baseball series, because we'll get to them eventually. That'll be fun. I do know it was I think they lost the license because they had unpaid royalties. I had read, and then they went out of business. But they're back now. Maybe Jeff Jarrett can get them to make another good baseball game. I doubt it, but
none of the licensing that they had. Basically.
Yeah, yeah. So, question mark there. We'll see. McKenna, anything else you had about the game?
I had one more thing that it's something that's not in the game that I was looking at Nintendo Power, and there's like a screenshot of the game options menu, and there's an option there to change the weather, which is not in the game. So I guess there was like a previous version. Yeah, the game has a wind. You can toggle wind on or off, but it seems like there was a previous version that had weather and they took it out.
That like a reviewer would have had? Does that?
I don't know if it's because the magazine, I think, said like weather doesn't impact things that much. It's more of an aesthetic thing. So maybe they were like, this isn't functional, like it's not doing anything and it's affecting performance or something, and they took it out. Something. Possibly.
I mean, if you're adding extra polygons to the screen to do one thing or another, like that's it's the horsepower that's not directed elsewhere. And then, it's a really smooth playing game. So it's like there aren't hitches. It runs at a solid FPS. Yeah. So like the frame rate is stable. So maybe they're like, it'd be fun to play in the snow. You can't really play in the snow, just like you can't play against aliens. Then they did the snow, and it was like, oh, this is unplayable. We can't do anything.
Do you know what it takes to be an all-star? Hitting, fielding, base running. All-Star Baseball 99 lives up to its name. The only baseball game on N64 with high-res graphics, real-life player faces, and batting stances. And the only 4-player baseball game on N64. Wrap your rumble pack around that. All-Star Baseball 99. Looks like we've got ourselves a new MVP. Acclaim Sports. Sweat the details.
Okay, cool. That was a lot of fun. Mark, thank you for helping us through our journey with our very first baseball game, answering some of our stupid questions maybe about it.
No
really
stupid
appreciate you like coming on and like bookending 2025 with us. Love having you on. Is there anything you want to promote?
Oh, geez. Well, first, happy to be here. Thanks for having me on. My writing has moved to the AV Club since the last time I was here, because I was doing Pace Magazine, and they kind of shuffled us games writers over to the AV Club now. So apparently I've been writing there for 4 or 5 years based on my author page.
That Ken Griffey article is there now. So
yes, they're at AV Club. I changed my bio at Baseball Prospectus last night when I filed something, because I was like, oh yeah, AV Club. Okay.
Sweet.
So yeah, I'm still doing Retro XP. I think I switched to Beehive since last time I was on. That's what I get to promote. So none of my day job stuff has a byline on it. So, read it or don't, I guess.
Well, there's a lot of retro XP for sure. Like our listeners, if they haven't already, should definitely check that out. Always great reviews, and yeah, it's a great read. So yeah, cool, great to have you back on. Oh, and we should also let people know our next game, which I think also came out a month later than I said. So whatever, we're going into uncharted territory here. Things are all out of whack. The timeline's messed up. But our next game we're talking about is Arrow Gauge, which should be exciting. And yeah, I guess. Oh, and we should thank. We've got a new tier on our Patreon, the Triforce tier. Thanks to Lee for supporting us on that.
Thank you, Lee.
Yeah, go patreon.com/flashback64. Check the different tiers out. But do that one if you want to get a special shout out. We appreciate it. And yeah, check us out, flashback64.com, soundstone.network for the other great shows on our podcast network. McKenna, great job.
Good job, you.
And yeah, we'll see everybody in the future for Arrow Gauge. Bye.
Bye.
Hello, we are Kirby Conversations, a podcast on Kirby, along with other adjacent subjects like Smash Bros., HAL Laboratory, and other related Nintendo games.
In each episode, we take an in-depth, well-researched look at a Kirby topic, drawing on our decades of experience playing Kirby games, creating Kirby-related content, and working in and around the video game industry. I'm Sean Douglas. I'm a theater and video game journalist.
And my name's Bridget. I'm an online Kirby commentator and collector.
Our team also includes photographer and Nintendo ambassador Kai Captain Dangerous Parker and Gigi, the editor-in-chief of Wick Kirby. Join us for deep dives into Kirby's history, interviews with industry professionals, and even inside looks at Nintendo, as together we explore all things Kirby and HAL Laboratory. You can find Kirby Conversations on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.